There's a common sentiment in self-help, personal advancement that is do the things you fear. And I think it is one of the best pieces of advice for people to follow. But this idea often gets misinterpreted or kind of spun in a certain way that can lead people down the wrong path. I've seen this advice work out really well for people, and I've seen it work out badly. There is nuance to this concept, just like everything else. Like a lot of concepts, they have a higher chance of success and happiness when you understand yourself better. Every big goal that I've achieved has been kind of scary in some way. You're either afraid that you're not going to achieve it, so afraid of failure, or you're afraid of consequences like change, or you're afraid of what you're not thinking about, what you're not considering, so fear of the unknown. And all of these things can kind of wreak havoc on people who are trying to accomplish something, who do want to accomplish it, but they hold themselves back. If you want something, go ahead and do it, even if it's scary, but make sure that it is something you want and understand why it is that you want it. Because change is constant, and every decision that you make, especially big decisions for your life, are gonna have changes in some way down the road. Like everything that you do has this ripple effect out through your life. So when it comes to big, lofty goals, those are gonna have some of the biggest changes. And consciously or subconsciously, a lot of people are afraid of that. And keeping two extremes in mind where you're not really doing anything new, you're not doing anything to advance, and you're super comfy in your bubble. And then the opposite extreme of you are throwing yourself into something so much bigger than what you have tackled before in a completely different area. And it might work out, it might not. So within progress and advancement and learning, there really is a sweet spot that most people are just comfortable enough trying. And the point isn't to just do that and stop there. The point is to expand your circle just a little bit more, try something new, learn something different, and go where you are slightly uncomfortable, and then get comfortable there, because that's your springboard to the next thing and the next thing. What happens in a lot of cases is people overshoot this. So they will do something that is way outside their comfort zone. So they are doing something that doesn't just make them uncomfortable, it makes them unhappy. So they are going to way too far of an extreme when they need to be keeping things a little bit closer and slowly working out. Little steps, little increments, in order to gain familiarity, gain understanding, test the waters a bit. Because if you are in one position and you're like, my goal is way over there, I'm going to jump over there, see what happens. If that gap is too big, you might end up in a place that is not for you. Not just that you can't do it, but that you don't want to do it. The opposite of that is people who stay in their comfort zone. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to change anything. They don't want to learn anything unless it is within their little comfort zone. They might stick their toes out and kind of take a fraction of a step in one direction, but they never gain comfort there. They're not able to expand their world because they're so afraid of everything. This leads to stagnation and entire areas of life where people do not have skills, where they haven't built comfort, where they haven't built familiarity. And this hinders people in so many ways. And these two extremes, while they might actually make you happier, depending if you take a huge risk and end up somewhere entirely different, you could be happy there. You might achieve that personal advancement. Or if you stay in your corner and you're just not doing anything new, yeah, you might be happy there. You might be super comfortable. But these two extremes are generally not the best path for most people. Neither of them are healthy. Neither of them are going to get you where you want to be. The brain needs new things to do, new things to learn, new environments, new actions. Just external stimuli that are something different for it to branch out and progress. So taking little steps and testing things out, that is the best way to go about personal advancement. And what's most important here is that your brain needs different types of things to learn. Someone who watches tons of documentaries and knows all of these facts about the world and can memorize everything about geography or everything about different ecosystems and knows everything just about how the world functions. They need something different. That's one type of learning multiplied by like 50 billion. Like if you are learning things in the same way, the same type of information, that is not exercising your brain in the same way. You are comfortable with that type of learning. You need to be able to learn something different. And then the opposite extreme, jumping into something entirely new to you, where you don't have a strong footing, that can have enough negative emotional consequences where you're like, don't like that, not worth it, I'm going to stay over here in my comfort zone. So there's a balance to be struck, a sweet spot. You want to do the things that you kind of fear without going so far that you hate the things you're learning to do. Advancing skills is a slow art, and when you run into something you really don't like, sometimes the best thing to do is choose a different direction. If you don't like something but you want to advance, you want to get better in some way, you have a lot of options. There isn't just one answer. There isn't just one direction to go. Like I said, all the big things that I've done have been kind of scary, but there were also so many steps I took towards accomplishing those things that I knew I wouldn't hate it when I got there. So this idea of do the things you fear, there's a lot more nuance that goes into that idea than just, that thing seems really intimidating, I'm going to go do it. You need to figure out what you want before you throw yourself into something entirely new, because there might be other choices that you are way better suited for. And one of the patterns I see with people who are really anxious or kind of scared of everything is they haven't built up enough trust in themselves by doing different things. How do you know how to handle things? Well, you learn how to handle things by handling things. You practice, you get better, you form those skill sets so that you have trust in yourself to be able to deal with things out in the world. Taking on challenges, climbing to new heights. Of course you're afraid to take a step because you've never climbed a mountain. How many mountains do you have to climb before you're not scared to take a couple of steps? You're never going to know until you start walking. And I know this is perfectly hypocritical, as I was just talking about how I finished my master's and I don't want to do anything. But the idea of self-help, of advancement, of getting better at things, it means that you've got to decide what steps to take, how big they should be, how much ground you want to cover, how difficult or challenging you want the staircase to be. Some people hear the concept of do what you fear and they just take it as this idea that they're going to have to be so unhappy and so uncomfortable and they're going to have to put themselves in situations they're really not okay with. And that's not what's going on here. That's not what this concept is about in practice. Take steps towards the things that you want to accomplish despite the fear and test out whether they're making you happy along the way. If you are moving towards a higher goal and you are miserable with every step of that process, that goal might not be for you. There might be something adjacent but entirely different in function and experience that would suit you so much better. So if you have a lofty goal, go ahead and dream big, but monitor each step and make sure that it is something you actually want to do, even if it's kind of scary. All right, that's it. Hopefully this helped. Let me know in the comments if you are working towards any big goal or if you are just trying to get out of your comfort zone. Bye.